We're joined today in Gdansk by local guide Sandra Wodzyńska-Goc. Sandra is a guide in both Gdansk, Gdynia and Sopot, and indeed across Pomerania. I'm grateful to Sandra for taking the time to speak to Hello Irlandia today to tell us about the region. So, my first question is, what are the best reasons to visit Gdansk, Gdynia and Sopot, and indeed the wider Pomerania region?
Hello, thank you for inviting me. I think that Pomeranian region is very interesting to see, especially because Gdańsk, Sopot and Gdynia, the whole Tri-City agglomeration, is quite a big agglomeration with many attractions, but at the same time it's located by the sea, very close to the forest, so you can rest and relax a little bit after visiting busy centers of these three cities.
So for those who haven't yet visited, tell us a little about what is one of the main attractions in Gdansk, which is the European Solidarity Centre.
I think that many Western Europeans are familiar with the story about Solidarity movement and Lech Wałęsa, our laureate of the Peace Nobel Prize. So it will be extremely interesting for you to see this place where everything started, where European Central and Eastern European road to freedom started in 1980 with your own eyes. And I think that the architecture of this building is also very impressive.
Yes, I was hugely impressed myself by the European Solidarity Centre, especially seeing the continuous history of Polish resistance to communism from 1956 to 1970 to the events of 1980 to 81, culminating of course in Poland's freedom in 1989. Sandra, in addition to the European Solidarity Centre, we of course also have the wonderful Museum of the Second World War. Can you tell us a little about that and what visitors to it can expect to see?
Museum of the Second World War is another narrative museum that we built in our city of Gdańsk, and I think that it's very interesting for people from all around the world. We share there with our sufferings and very difficult experience from the time of the Second World War, comparing it also to the situation in other countries and the situation of other nations. So I think that everybody will find something touching and important for him, herself in this museum.
And I think it's also fair to say that that museum is not just about Poland's experience during World War II. It also represents the suffering of many other nationalities. So I think it's quite informative for visitors from indeed all across Europe. Much attention came to Gdansk, of course, earlier this year with the tragic murder of Mayor Pavel Adamovich. I've seen throughout Gdansk many memorials to his period as the city's mayor. Would you like to tell us a little about the accomplishments of Mayor Adamovich?
Pavel Adamovich was our mayor for 20 years, and it's still difficult for us to talk about what happened because he was a real symbol of our city, even if we didn't agree with him at some subjects. Still he represented the story of many other citizens of Gdańsk. His family came to Gdańsk right after the Second World War from eastern part of our country that we lost, that became part of USSR. And he was educated in Gdańsk. He was member of the opposition, and then in 90s became involved in politics as well. And he had his vision of the future of Gdańsk that he completed. We can say that Gdańsk developed a lot thanks to him. Maybe directions didn't seem right for all of us, but for sure Gdańsk became one of the most attractive Polish cities thanks to him.
So as your mayor may not be aware, people in Ireland tend to be obsessed with the weather, generally speaking because it's so wet, windy and miserable in the country most of the time. So what kind of weather can a visitor to the Gdansk region typically expect?
Every kind of weather. The weather is really crazy here. The Tri-City agglomeration is settled by the sea, and at the edge of it there is a line of hills. So very often weather changes, the clouds just break at this line of hills, which causes many rains, and it's also a little bit windy. but sun comes out also quite often. So one day it can be 35, another day it can be 20, so you never know what to expect.
So Irish visitors will feel quite at home in Gdansk then. So finally, Sandra, what's your own personal favourite in terms of an attraction or a place to visit in the region?
In the whole region, I would recommend for sure the visit in the Malbork Castle, which is the biggest medieval castle preserved in Europe, and also visits by the sea. We have very nice seashore with sandy beaches that many Americans told me that seem like Hawaii for them. So that would be a change for Irish tourists, I think.
Thank you once again, Sandra, for taking the time to speak to Hello Irlandia today.